Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be doing a Lego podcast. We have Travis, who is really good at asking questions, and I was just like, and we were just talking about Lego one day, and I was like, we need to just record this because the world needs to know all these questions the answers to the questions, and just dive into this. So what is like the first stuff diving into Lego that you got?
So the intro, I think, I was into Lego, but I never really delved deep into the exact lore of it and all that. So that's why when we started talking, I was like, I'm just going to go through kind of more or less what we talked about, and then also some kind of answers that you may not know that I found out when I was going over some cool questions. So what started off was what makes Lego rare? Like what makes Legos or even sets rare besides just the limited printing of it, because obviously those are outnumbered, but what?
And it's kind of does also tie into what makes Lego the priciest or of all building blocks, or kind of I guess well, to go to the rarity part, I think the biggest thing that applies, it ends up being because of people like me that collect so much of it that we just all consume it all, and then eventually no one else has it. So it's because I think that's the biggest thing, is because of the, as you were saying, the print, or not print, the
popularity of it, because I'm sure there's certain sets that don't sell that well and they're nobody wants them, and then you have Lord of the Rings sets where if there's only one minifigure, and then for some reason that thing goes up.
Yeah, so it's definitely, I think they may make and produce less of those more expensive sets. So if there's unique things to the certain set, like the Black Pearl, even though it was only $100 back in the day, it came with Davy Jones, and that Davy Jones minifigure is $120.
Oh,
and because it's so old, it's basically it's the classic demand versus supply. So
that is true. If you were going to be a collector, you might as well start off with the big themes and the famous kind of most iconic characters and people.
Yeah.
And then what's the process like to make a Lego set from beginning to end? Where does it start, and then eventually it comes out on the shelf?
So I'm just going to have to say, from as far as my knowledge goes, because I've never actually produced it, but I remember watching some videos, and I've listened to some podcasts of Lego designers, and they basically, it starts in the concept phase, where basically they start up by talking about what are they going to do, and then they'll even sketch it out and just draw okay, we're going to have, this is the rough idea, and then throw in a few of the features. And once they've got that all designed out, where it's we need a house, and we're going to have 3 minifigures with a tree, then they send it to the design people that actually start piecing.
The master builders?
Yeah, the master builders. And they start building their own designs, and then they also send it to an art department that does the graphic design. So they start putting together the stickers or the prints, that especially the minifigures will always have some different print design. And then you kind of just start combining it all together. And I think it depends on the builder, but some builders build it out in physical blocks and then take and put it into the digital program where they do it. But by the end of creating a Lego set, it always ends up being built digitally, because that's where they build all the instructions and put those together.
Yeah, and kind of optimizing pieces and making sure everything kind of works together. So what sets that apart into where you turn down the lane of custom making pieces? Because they have so many pieces now. It's why would they ever want to custom make pieces? And then I feel you look at some sets and you're that is a interesting piece. So why wouldn't they just use 2 or 3 pieces of something else? I'm not sure if you can answer that, but
So that is a good question, because they do produce a lot of new pieces, and sometimes I think they always try. Well, okay, here's actually some history. So back in the day, 2000 or 19, it was about 1990s, Lego was making so many new sets, and every single set had 5 to 10 new pieces, and they were trying to do that to be because they weren't being clever enough and like recombining the pieces into the new things. And each mold costs Lego at least, I forget if it was 25,000 or I think it's $25,000 at least for their mold. So the machinery piece. So $25,000 just for that. So you could buy a new car for every new piece.
Dang.
And so with these sets that were having like 10 new pieces, that starts becoming a very expensive Lego set. And so Lego was doing that, and they thought it would appeal to more people, being like, oh, okay, they got to get this set because it has the new pieces. But people weren't really caring about the new pieces. They just wanted the set. So Lego kind of realized that they were kind of going downhill and losing a bunch of money from that, and no one was buying the sets. But some designers were like, okay, we're just going to actually take the building blocks, combine them together, and not create any new pieces for our new sets. And basically, just because the cost of the set didn't cost as much to produce, they were actually able to start making money and come out of almost
I found this on the web.
being bankrupt. Silly watch.
Interesting. Very interesting, actually. Yeah.
I guess one thing I was just thinking to finish answering that, because Lego does produce more new pieces. For a while they kind of weren't, but now lately they've been doing more. And I think it's because they feel like they have more money, so they're just like, we can do it. I think that's where they're at right now. But
yeah, because that was one thing when I was looking at new sets. I was like, that's a new piece, and it's like, why wouldn't you? Or like sometimes there's an arch and they just wanted a specific way. It's like, there were like 1,000 arches. Yeah. But yeah. And then as far as people building these Lego sets and going into everything, can anyone become a master builder?
Well, sure. So they pretty much have like a challenge ship where to become a builder, and I think the process changes every once in a while, but I think currently it's you create and build your stuff, and then just your own creations, and then submit it to Lego. And you should hopefully have, like, I guess you're building your portfolio. It's almost like an art portfolio, but it'd be a build portfolio. And I've heard that some designers say the bigger variety that you have, the more likely you are to get in. So if you can build some cars, if you can build some modular buildings, if you can build like a sculptable, something like the Bowser, where it's a sculpture and a piece. So kind of combining, having skill in all sort of areas, because they want people that are well versed in building, even if you end up being only assigned to build in one certain, like even if you're only going to become a superhero builder.
Yeah, interesting. And then does Lego take any recommendations, or do they see any builds from specific people and go, I'm going to make that an official Lego piece? Can you submit to that? Do they have something like that?
So they actually have a whole program where it's called the Lego Ideas, and people submit their idea. So they basically build their own creation. And I've actually thought of doing this with a Mr. Rogers. So like building like a little Mr. Rogers set, and then you can submit images to it, and then people, just the community votes or gets to say, I support this idea. So it's kind of like a Kickstarter, but you don't have to set any money aside. You just say, I like this idea. And once one of the ideas hits 10,000 supporters, then it goes into a final review stage where the actual Lego group gets to pick out of all of these sets which ones they will take and produce and recreate into a real Lego set.
Do you get a free Lego set if you win or something?
Yeah, so if your set gets selected to be the one to be produced, you'll get, I think, is either 10 or 20 copies of your Lego set.
Ooh.
So to like give away to friends, and then you also get 1% of the revenue from it.
Forever?
Well, as long as it's on shelves, so which is probably typically 2 years.
Oh, that's awesome. And then originally when Legos were being created, were they ever dyed, or were they always like mixed in colors, or were they ever like printed kind of over or painted?
I think once they found their process, because maybe back in the day they mainly used stickers to change the colors, like if they wanted print, like even the minifigure torsos had like a sticker print to give them a suit and tie instead of being printed onto it. So that's how they did it way back in the day. And then they started discovering the print process of using something called pad printing. So it's basically like a stamp where every single piece, so they put the piece and then every single new color is a new stamp essentially. So it's like a machine that goes boop, boop, and then it sends it to the next one to do the next color. So they have to layer it color by color. So it's not all printed at once. Oh. I think that gets the best quality.
So it doesn't just constantly have the same color going over and over. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I was also thinking, and I don't know if this is true, but like, did they ever try to make joints for minifigures? Or like, was that the original design that we see today? Was that kind of what they were from the beginning?
Well, they did have they were working on trying to figure it out. So before that, they had a series called, I think it was Jack Stone, where he's like a little extra tall. I forget if his arms move horizontal or just the vertical, well, back and forth or sideways. I think they moved sideways just a little bit. So they had like a little bit of that joint.
Like a little pivot in the shoulder.
Yeah, a little bit of a pivot. But it just, I personally think it looked a little like too much. So I think Lego kind of was figuring that out as well. And they were simplifying and they kind of ended up upon the minifigure we have today. But they really didn't take them too long to get to this minifigure.
Yeah. And as I was, growing up, everyone kind of has this, everyone has Legos and, if you don't have Legos, you have a copycat for it. So in your idea, is there a good substitute for Lego? I know no one can beat them, but like, what's the second down the list as far as building bricks, companies like that? What's number 2? Even though it's a big distance.
Yeah, it's of course Lego's always going to be the best, but yeah, the good second. So I know there's a bunch of companies that lately have been actually really upping their game. So I can't say like specific brand at the moment.
Yeah.
But
I just know they've always sucked. I think I had like a knockoff brand when I was growing up and I was like, this is bad.
They are bad. And I've bought some and they still are bad. It's like I thought they would perfect it by now, but it's somehow they can't.
There's something about Lego, like their pieces are just so solid. Like they're solid, they look well, they look good, and there's like a simplicity to it. But when you go to like other designers or pieces, like they have kind of like the custom stuff you have, like they look good, but like they're really thin, or like they don't fit quite right. They're not machined like all the way.
It's like you will have 2 pieces that connect really well together, and then you take those 2 pieces, try another 2, and it's like they just fall apart. So it is weird. So I'd actually say the second, if I was to suggest something, I'd almost say you're either going, if you're going to get the building blocks, go Lego and that's it, or do something more like blocks, like wood blocks, and just like more of that style, just those, or like Lincoln Logs. It's like do a completely different toy. Don't try to get into that.
Yeah, because Lego's in that unique situation where it's like they basically have a monopoly.
Yeah, they pretty much do.
Yeah. And then can you request or pay Lego to make specific custom pieces for you? Because like there's people who make custom pieces outside, or like there's 3D printers or something, but can you pay Lego themselves? Say, because like you were talking about, they're 20 grand for a specific mold. If you were a billionaire and you really wanted a specific Lego piece from Lego, do they have that?
I don't think they have a specific system set up for that, but I'm sure if you had $1 billion or a billionaire and you wanted a specific piece, I'm sure they could hook you up with that, and it'd be a little bit of process. And then Lego would probably start trying to use that piece in their Lego sets.
Yeah, they're like, oh, might as well make that mold into money.
Exactly.
And then I was also thinking, there's only one real kind of answer I had to this, but I wonder if you, because you built a lot more than I did, have you ever broken Lego pieces?
So, I don't know if I have any examples, but back in 2012, in that like time period, the brown bricks, for some reason, were really brittle. Well, they kind of were brittle back then, but like as time has aged, so like now all the bricks from that time period are really brittle. And so just the other day, I was building one of the sets and I was using a ladder from back then, and it was brown, and I would just put it. No, and it slipped out of my hand and fell on the ground and shattered into like 10 pieces. So
Dumb.
beyond that, yeah, I have not.
So the one piece that I was thinking of that I feel like I'm like, it was just like I would find broken, because the pieces you don't really break unless you obviously try to snap longer pieces, or even like a 2x4, like you can't really like.
It's like you can't get enough leverage.
But were the Lego hands, minifigure hands, like one edge will like chip off. Yeah, that was kind of my thing. I
did experience that, and sometimes I'd experience the socket where the hand would go into, like that would get a little hair fractures and get loose over playing with them.
Yeah.
So that would break, but it was just more like a little bit of play wear. So.
Okay. Well, jumping back to kind of what you were talking about, how there's like certain ages, or like maybe there's certain molds, or like concoctions where pieces that were made from this era were brittle and they'd snap. True or false, Legos have expiration dates?
I'd say false, unless it is those brown pieces.
So the answer is, I guess it's true. On every box, the older Lego sets had a 2 to 3 year, or it was a 1 to 2 year expiration date. And then the newer boxes have like a 3 to 5 year expiration. So there's an expiration, I guess, for it. I don't know why, but I think, because it's not like the pieces really erode, but I think there's like a guaranteed, like, it'll be good for play for this amount of time. Otherwise, it starts kind of...
Yeah, I can see that. That's interesting. But yeah, as I've used Lego pieces, some of the older ones, almost you start using them, they get like squeaky within each other. Like,
yeah.
So maybe there is a little bit of erosion that's happening. Yeah,
so after I've signed that, I was like, oh, very cool. Is there also a universally hated Lego theme where it came out and people were like, why? I dislike this. And then you find those pieces and they're like really old. Or not really old, but like really cheap and no one wants. And it's like, yeah.
It's kind of hard for there to be like one theme that everyone hated on. But there was one, I'm trying to remember. What was it? There was something. But it lasted. But more of the time it is that there's at least someone out there that wants it. Like, I personally really hated this theme called Mixels or Pixels or something. It was like little monsters. So they were like, came in like $5 bags or something. And it was just like a little monster you'd build. And I thought those would, like, no one would like them, but now they're like $25 a piece to get. And so there's still a bunch of people, and I've started hearing that they actually really love that theme and they want that to come back. So
interesting.
There's always seems to be someone that it's probably either nostalgia or something that because they just happen to have got it, they end up loving it.
Or yeah, that was like their intro set into Legos, so they just have a special place in their
heart. I'll think about it, and if I remember, because I feel like there are like a couple themes that no one likes.
Yeah, well, we can jump back to it. This kind of had another question down the road is, what makes a Lego set theme canceled? Because I can think of a set, and I'll tell you here in a second that, I was like, man, I never had them, but I was like, this was like the coolest set, and it was canceled, and they don't make them. So how come things get canceled? I'm sure it's like there's sales.
Yeah.
And then there's...
The sales definitely play into it. I know for a time, the Lego had basically a formula that they were doing where it was like, we're only going to do 3 waves and then end the theme. So they cycled through a few different themes. So I don't know if you ever heard of Power Miners or Atlantis.
Yeah, yep.
So the Lego
I remember
Atlantis.
seeing commercials for that.
So in that time period, they were sticking to like a 3-wave schedule. Whereas like after they have their 3 waves, so they have like one happen at the beginning of the year, the end of the year, and then the beginning or middle of next year. So like a year and a half. And then, so within 2 years, they ended the theme.
And then that was it?
Yeah.
Dang. Have they revisited any themes that they used to I know they had like older castles, and I've seen, obviously some of your videos, you have a lot of castle pieces now. So is that like a theme that they had forever ago, or is it like they're kind of dipping into the medieval-esque, but it's different?
So they're definitely doing something different now, because I think the last time, say, Lego Castle was an actual theme was 2017, and that was called the Nexo Knights. I don't know if you heard of them, but it was kind of like high-tech knights where they had laser swords and shields, and then like moving vehicles. It was kind of interesting, mixing like a sci-fi medieval. But before that, it would have been like 2008 was the last time. So castle. So where a real castle, 2008 is the last time. But lately they've brought back 2 different castle sets just in different themes, like their creator theme and their icons theme, where it's not like the Lego castle theme, but they kind of were able to build those castles and just put it into there, so they didn't have to commit to a theme, but just have like a standoff one-off set. Yeah. They also did that with a pirate ship and a Viking ship. So they've been kind of revisiting those, but through their creator theme.
Interesting. So one set that I saw and kind of remember growing up, I was like, man, if they only brought these back, it was like, those were so cool, were the Lego Bionicles. Yeah. Why don't they still have them?
I know
Star Wars is never going to go away, but why not Bionicles?
Yeah, everyone loves Bionicles. And I've heard the reason they're not going to bring them back is because it doesn't stay true to their actual building brick. And
that's true.
So that's what I've heard why they're not going to bring it back. And they actually did a small little Bionicle set lately where they used the building bricks to build the Bionicle instead of those classic Bionicle pieces.
Yeah, because some of those pieces, I remember like they'd roll up into like baseballs.
Yeah.
Like those were cool.
They were super awesome pieces and great quality, but I think Lego's just like, we're going to stick to our building brick right now.
I know, they could make so much money.
I know, they should do it.
And then, why are Lego minifigures yellow? Do you know the origin of that, or why specifically yellow? Was that just like a color they picked and like, yes?
I think it was kind of a combination of that, and they may have been trying to do one that just is all exclusive to all people without having to worry about different colors, because back in the day they're just like, we just want it to be as universal as we can and not have to do anything too specific. But nowadays they have a lot of skin tones for their minifigures.
Yeah. Do you know when the first skin tone was printed?
It wasn't a Star Wars set. It was a Star Wars.
Ooh.
So because the original Star Wars sets, all the minifigures were yellow. Where like Luke was yellow, Leia was yellow.
Interesting.
And then it was it probably was one of the prequel sets. So like Anakin or Obi-Wan. I think it was
like 2003?
Yeah, it was around
so that's
that time.
Speaking of Lego's history, that is like way late in their career when they started making skin tones.
Yeah, they have like even the original Harry Potter sets were yellow as well. So it was within that like 2005-ish time, I think, is when they made their first skin tones.
Wow. Dang. And then do you own any stock from Lego? And will you?
So Lego is a private company.
Oh!
So they don't have stock. So
they're not public?
Yep, not public.
Oh yeah, because they're still family owned, right?
Yep.
Oh, very cool.
So the only way you can technically own stock is to stockpile up on Lego sets and plan to sell them later. So like, that's about it.
So I Googled what the most expensive Lego, or like the most rare or expensive like pieces from Lego are, and apparently they only made 2 of these, and it was a 14 karat gold Boba Fett.
Oh, they made a Boba Fett.
It was just all gold.
Do you know, did it say where they were from? Because I know there was a figure called Mr. Gold that they were putting, I don't know if it was like pure gold, but it was at least gold coated, of, like little top hat guy called Mr. Gold, and they were in a minifigure series, and there was like a few hundred of them.
So that's what it looked like. It was like a little golden Boba Fett. And then I guess they had another one made out of sterling silver.
Oh yeah, they just did that as like some collection. I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, and I think you could win one of them. They had like a contest or something, like enter to win.
And the gold.
Yeah, or gold. So I was like, and apparently they go for like $15,000.
That would
piece.
make sense.
Yeah,
That is
made out of gold. And...
pure gold. I'd like to have one of those. But the funny thing is, because if it's pure gold, it's probably not gonna like fit together with normal Lego as well.
Oh yeah, I'm sure the legs don't come off.
Yeah.
Or bend, or move, or swivel. Yeah.
It's just like a little gold statue.
And then this is kind of where I jumped into a little bit of trivia to kind of guess your knowledge, because stuff I looked up, I was like, this is so specific. Only Tim would know this.
Okay.
So what are Lego bricks called?
Oh,
Like they're referred to, like the pieces are referred to as bricks.
Oh, elements.
Dang it.
Yes.
Dang it.
Like when you become a master builder,
Yeah.
and you're at Lego headquarters, you say, "I need this element."
And let me get to the other. There was another trivia piece.
Yeah, let's see if I have this Lego knowledge.
What year was the first minifigure made?
Specific year. I doubt I'm gonna get this right.
Or I'll give you the 60s, the 50s, the 40s. Like I'll give you that kind of era.
Okay,
So
before that, I was gonna just guess. Or you're saying I guessed just that era?
Yeah.
Okay, guess
because there is a specific date, but like I'm like, yeah, it's hard.
I
So I'll
think
give you
it
that.
1970s.
Yeah,
It was
1978.
78. Okay, almost.
There were
80s.
7 different minifigures with the themes of town, castle, and space.
There you go.
So they kind of hit the ground running instead of just like one.
Yeah, and like those are the classic and they've been bringing back a few space stuff too as well.
Yeah. And then here's a question. How many pieces come in a standard 500 piece bucket?
How many pieces in a 500 piece bucket?
Yeah.
500?
Yeah. It's a trick question. I saw that and I was like, I'll see if I can see. Oh, and then we talked about this, mentioned this earlier, but in 2009, this theme was a replacement of Rock Raiders.
Oh, I know this one. Power Miners.
Die.
That's one of my favorite themes. I need to get the Rock Raider sets though, because I like the Power Miners, so it's almost to replace. I want to expand that by getting the Rock Raiders, where the OG people got the Rock Raiders and expand it with the Power Miners.
So here's kind of like a maybe achievement or an accolade of Lego, but the Fortune magazine gave Lego what distinction?
Best toy of the year?
Best toy of the century.
Century. Okay.
Yeah, so it's declared toy of the century by Fortune.
They deserve that. That's good.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. What were the first toys distributed by the Lego company made of?
The very first?
Yeah.
Or wood. It was
Yeah.
like a wooden duck.
Yes.
So I forgot. I don't know how long they were doing wood toys, but the Lego company first did wood. And that's why I'd say if you're going back into like trying to do what's your second best, it's those just wood toys in general or building blocks. Maybe even the foam blocks.
Yeah, because those, even though they're more simple, like I feel like they never get outdated.
Exactly.
Like I still love playing with Lincoln Logs. Like if I have my niece
It's
and
like you get a
nephew
bucket of Lincoln Logs. Those will be perfect for your children's children.
And you already know this, but mainly for others, in which country are Lego headquarters located?
Denmark.
And then where are all the locations for their Legolands?
Their Legolands.
Isn't there 3?
They have one in. Yeah, they have one in London. I don't know if it's specifically London, but it's next to London.
Yeah, England. Yeah, there's
Okay.
one in England.
And then don't know if there is one in Denmark, but there's one in Florida. And is there one in California? Yeah, there's not.
There is.
There is one in
Yeah,
California?
there's one in California.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was 3 from what I remember, but that was...
So they only have the London and then 2 in the States. Interesting.
I think there was one in... Oh, no,
There
was
is
the
one.
manufacturers and like the tours are in
Yeah,
Denmark,
there's that
so-
Denmark.
Yeah. One of the first original Lego heroes, Johnny Thunder, has gained a special place in the hearts of many older fans. Which theme did this minifigure star in?
Johnny Thunder? But what?
We talked about this before
This is
the camera.
Adventurers.
Yes.
Yes. Johnny Thunder, yeah.
Yeah, because you were showing me that set with
Yeah,
that
Von Baren.
evil... Yeah.
Van
That guy
Baren
looks
was
sick.
the antagonist.
Yeah,
and then
so
Johnny
that was the
Thunder
hero.
Was the protagonist. I need to get a Johnny Thunder minifigure. I don't have one.
So the name Lego comes from the Danish words leg and got, G-O-D-T. What do these two words translate to in English?
I'm pretty sure it's let's play or something like that. But
Close. I'll give it to you. That was surprisingly close. I would never have guessed that. It's the answer is play well.
oh yeah, play well. I remember hearing that, learning that once upon a time.
And
Oh, so here's just a fun fact for the adventures theme. So back in the day, like when I was a little kid, I just look at their instructions online and use all my pieces to just build these sets that I couldn't get. And so I built some of the adventure sets with Johnny Thunder and like made my own little minifigure of Johnny Thunder, and it was good. But
So
they were like mismatching all colors and everything.
oh, so good. So how do you think Lego will ever go back to original sets they make and remake them, or is Lego kind of we're always trying for new stuff, so we never kind of look back?
I think they're kind of going more that route of we always want to be making new stuff, but lately they have made a few new like recreations of exactly old sets. Like that one over there, it's the Black Tron Cruiser. That is basically a 1-to-1 scale replica of their original Black Tron set. And just it's a classic space theme. So they just remade that into
I assume that's the same for that set right next to it.
the forest hideout. Yeah. I forgot if that one was an exact remake or it may have been upscaled a little bit. And then they also made it was just a classic spaceship, but just a spaceship, and it was originally like this big, but then they made a new version and upscaled it to about that big.
Wow.
And so they've kind of been doing that sort of thing, not doing an exact remake, but making a remake is close enough to get the fans to be like, this is basically it. And
yeah. And say if you were king of Lego,
King of Lego.
in this universe, what would be the changes or things you would start doing?
So number one thing I would do now is create less really big sets, because Lego has gone a little bit overboard where basically every set they're producing is a giant scale set. And it's like, I think many people are just
That
getting
is
a
very
little
true.
tired of being able to, they're like, I don't have enough money and I also don't have enough space to build these sets. Like just think of the Lord of the Rings theme. Back in the day it had like 12 different sets, but they were all like on the scale of $10 set to $100. And now they have one Lord of the Rings set that's $500. So just that one set costs more to get than all of their theme from back in the day. So I think I'd start doing more of those, just bring back the themes and have a bunch of smaller sets that are...
Have that price range.
Yeah.
Because now, like you even have some of the beginner ones, it's like $40. It's like, what?
Yeah. And so dialing down on more, just making it, going back a little bit more the simple and trying to make it as cheap as possible. And then I'd also build Legoland in like every state, just so everyone can enjoy Lego.
Yeah, there you go. And then, do you know which country buys the most Lego? Where's their biggest market?
I would assume it's the United States.
It is not.
And it's probably not...
It's a country in Europe.
Is it Denmark?
It's not Denmark.
Okay.
One more guess and then I'll give it up.
I'll just say... Well... I'm going to say Sweden. They have like no one there though.
It is wrong. It's Germany.
Germany.
Has the biggest market, which I was like, oh, wow. I would have guessed it was the US too, but
That's interesting.
Germans love Legos. Everyone loves Legos.
I could have figured that out because there's like a few German YouTube people, and there's this one guy who's bought out a basically full office space of like a few hundred square feet. No, probably like 1,000 square feet, just to build a huge giant Lego city, Lego world that he's building just full freehanded. It's insane. And he's in Germany, so he's probably the market. It's just that guy.
Yeah, just that guy. Dang. And then, does Lego partnership with anybody? Or do they sponsor people?
So was it? I searched up if they did sponsorships, and they don't do sponsorships, but they have something called their ambassador network, where you can join as a Lego group or a Lego like content creator, where so you end up getting Lego support packages where Lego will just send you
Some of their new
pieces
stuff.
or bricks or sets. And so that's either some groups, like there's a Utah Lego group, and I think they're a part of it, where it's just a bunch of people that come together and build Lego, and it's kind of like a adult club.
Interesting.
So Lego supports those adult clubs.
Wow.
And they also do support the children group, like they'll even donate a bunch of Lego to hospitals and places like that. So they do more so very specific. They like to have complete control over where they're distributing their Lego in a sponsorship form, but they never call it a sponsorship.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, after learning all this, like the family owned, there's not really like sponsorships. They kind of like dabble in certain areas. They kind of have control of the market. Do you think if they ever went public, you think prices would go down and things would change?
That is an interesting thought, because I have no idea. Like,
Because then you would have investors and they wouldn't go rely solely on their sets coming out, and that would be the income. It would be like there's stock, and then people would make money other ways. So
that is an interesting thought. I feel like at their current state of they're being a little bit more greedy, that if it went public, it wouldn't affect stuff. It would probably be like, they'd almost take pride in it, being like, we're public, so now the prices can be even more. But
yeah,
maybe like once they realize that greed isn't the way, then it would maybe bring down the prices.
that's nuts. And then here was a Lego fact or a fun fact kind of toward the end here that I had was there's enough Lego pieces made in the world and, you know, distributed, and like right now that's built for enough for everybody in the world to have 80 pieces.
That's so many.
Yeah, and there was like a distribution rate of, don't quote me on the exact number, but I think I saw it was like 52,000 pieces per second or made or something. Or it's per hour.
Yeah, something
per
like
hour,
that.
yeah.
And I know what was it? I feel like I heard once that there's more minifigures than people on the earth, but I don't think that's true yet. But I think it was on the track that like in the next couple years there'll be more minifigures than people. I think that's what it was.
That's nuts.
So it's either happened now or it's happening in the next like 2 years. So there's so many pieces, and like 80 pieces is a decent sized set. You could have like every single person on earth could have a nice Lego set.
Oh, yeah. What's the smallest set you've seen?
Technically, I guess the minifigure series, where it's just like the one pack of just one minifigure.
Oh, yeah. That would count. Done.
That's probably
one
it.
piece. 2, 3.
Yeah, it's like always probably max 5. Well, no, there was one with 3 pieces. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was just a minifigure.
And like a hat.
Yeah, it was so small. What was it? Maybe 5 is technically the least I've seen. It's either 3 or 5.
Okay. And then you were talking about earlier, what was it? Oh yeah, it was the humongous sets that you have. That's like all I see now. Like there's pieces that are like, was it like 3,000 piece sets, and they're like $500. It's like, who is buying these?
I know.
And yet they do.
It's kind of funny. There's a Black Panther bust. And basically, it's life size, where it's Black Panther's helmet with him like Wakanda forever.
Yeah.
And it's like $500 and the 3,000 pieces. And I was like, who is buying this? And I went to the Lego store and saw someone checking out with this. I'm like, why are you buying this? You're supporting them. We need to say no to these.
Yeah, get no. And there was one thing that I would change. It would be because I remember going to Vegas with you and went to that Lego store. That Lego store was really cool. They just needed more of like individual pieces instead of just the sets. Because really, there's probably besides the back room, there's maybe 80 sets out from like all of it combined on the wall. So there's not much. And then there's that back wall of bricks. And then there's a couple stands of like minifigures. So I feel like if they had more of those like individual pieces that you could get, or like more of that kind of bundle deals where you get like a cup of minifigures, but it's like, priced right. Like I feel like that could bring in a lot more like ground kind of money instead of just from sets.
I think so. And like I've met a few people. Like one person while I was at this Lego store, I was filling up a cup of bricks and they asked me, they're like, would you suggest getting a cup of bricks or like the boxes of bricks or whatever to just build Lego? Because they just wanted to build on their own without having to build an instruction set.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a lot of that, and people are probably wanting to be more creative where they just need the extra bricks to just build those stuff.
I will say they are getting good at making building sets a lot better than it used to be. Because I remember it was just like you would get maybe like 2 or 3 bags of just pieces. And they were just based on these are bigger, these are the small, and then this is it. And then it gave you like, these are the things required for this page. And then you have to go scounging through. Now they have the bag 1, 2, and 3, and it's specifically. So that has been really nice, I'm sure, for building some of these longer sets.
Oh, yeah.
How is building the Millennium Falcon, that big one you had? Was that like just bag of gray pieces?
Yeah, every bag was just straight gray pieces.
Was it numbered though, or was it just...
It was numbered. I forgot how many. It was either 30 or 50 bags.
Oh my gosh.
It was a lot. But it would have been so much worse if I wasn't building with my brothers. Because it just took basically a week and just like all combo build. But I will say it is kind of a boring set to build because it's just gray.
Well, yeah, and there's no like form to it until you get to the edges or like, so you're just building this core of gray.
Yeah, it's just brick and just, you're like, okay, I guess this comes together into something.
And then maybe here to end it on, is it better to build or to look at finished Legos?
It depends on the set. Like the Millennium Falcon, it looks so good now that it's finished. Super terrible to build. But like building the Bowser, even probably the Sesame Street set was my favorite set to build. Just because like there's like all these little references that's happening. So if there's a set that's based on something you like and they throw in all these little stories within it, so you're basically experiencing a story that's happening while building it, those are really fun. And I think then whenever I freehand build, so like building Rivendell, I think it's going to be the end product I'm willing to enjoy more, and just almost the knowledge to be like, I built this, but while building it, it's kind of fun to be creating it, but there's not really like any of those little stories that I'm discovering that's happening along the way.
Yeah, because I'm sure is there any like development team for like Easter eggs that they put in sets? Because I'm sure there's like the people who build it, and then you have those like design people who go over like the minifigures and the stickers you were talking about. But is there like, I don't know, like an attention to detail kind of people that like go, oh, not only are we going to do this, but we're going to add like this.
Specifically assigned to that, I think they do try to find from their team of builders who almost has a passion about that. Because I know when they were making the Lego Office set, they were like, we're going to take people who are just know the show and will...
Yeah, because looking at the front of that, there were so many like little things where it's like there's like the bobblehead on the desk, there was like all this kind of stuff, the pictures, and I was like, that was kind of more of like, if you know it, you'll love it.
Yeah.
And then last question I had written down was, if there was one minifigure that's not created now, what would you make? That you could just snap your fingers and the minifigure would be created. And it could be any version, like...
Probably...
I have a silly answer and then a real answer.
So I feel like this is going to be it's almost too serious of a question. But I currently, and we'll just say I didn't even know that there's these spoilers, but a Link. But apparently this next year they are making a Link minifigure.
They don't have a Link?
They don't have Link.
I would make a burnt Darth Vader, like a cut up Darth Vader, where his minifigure arms are half.
Oh, okay. Maybe
and like messed up legs, like so it'd be custom legs and arms, but he'd be burnt up. Cool. That would be a really cool Darth Vader for me. Because
they have like one where it's like printed burnt, but not like the unique minifigure piece. That'd be really nice.
Yeah. And then another one would just be like a Jesus,
Oh, that I do.
Him going and preaching. That would be a cool set.
That would be a sweet set.
Him and his 12 disciples.
Oh, I'd get that.
Last Supper.
Yes.
Set. That would be real cool.
That would be cool. I know Lego won't ever do that because they say their things are like, we don't do anything war, military, or religion affiliated. But then they've made the Taj Mahal, and that's like technically.
Get out of here.
So I'm like, okay. But if they end up changing their
Well, haven't they made temples? Or is that like
that's what knockoff brand that makes the temples.
Yeah.
And because I do want to make a Jesus. I was trying to make one. I was looking for a piece for like a good robe piece and like a cane or something with the like shepherd's cane.
Oh.
What is it, like the arch or
The shepherd
crook, or what is it called?
Staff? I don't know.
Something. Yeah. But that'd be good. I'm trying to think if there's any other minifigures that I'd want.
I know that Sauron piece is coming out. Yeah. Apparently.
Yeah. So if
is that confirmed, or is that like you are led to believe because of the
way they did it is Lego did a survey with a bunch of people, and they just submitted like a picture. They're like, here's this picture of this set. How much would you be willing to buy this for? And so then some people took screenshots. So some of them are just, I think now is basically from that survey, they're going to have to decide which ones are we actually going to produce.
That's a really stinky move on Lego. For the only reason is because you have the really excited people go like, I'll pay about anything. So they put this outrageous number and then they'll see it and go, good. And then they'll place it for that, even though it's like, it probably costs you like a nickel to make all of this.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that has happened. So now it's like, we're going to have some really pricey but awesome sets.
Yeah.
I know a bunch of people want Mario minifigures because there are none.
There's only those, kind of like that Bowser, like the built figures with a bunch of bricks instead of just a minifigure.
Yeah, they only have that. So with the Mario movie, if they make like a Mario minifigure with that,
sure
that would be awesome. So I'm hoping for that.
That Thanos really sucked too.
The little minifigure one?
Yeah, it kind of looked like just a big cave troll.
Yeah, they did the cave troll one. That was kind of a good way to do it. It's like, but I don't know how I would have done it.
I would have just done a bigger scale. Like, you're already custom making it. Why don't you just
make a minifigure bigger?
Yeah, make like
that would be kind of cool.
Like 1.75 scale minifigure, and you just custom all his pieces. Like his shoulder to elbow doesn't move, and then have a pivot from here or something, and just have him in like one or two stances, and then make a specific head, and the neck is like thicker, and that would be it. And then you kind of just make it, yeah. Because I feel like that could branch off into like having bigger pieces, and instead of just like Hulk minifigure.
Yeah, that would be cool. And like if they did a big Ant-Man like that, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Very good Lego questions. Very good knowledge attained.
That was awesome. There's so much more to the Lego realm that like I don't even know. So, but hopefully this was insightful for all of you to listen to and learn little bits more about Lego. And thank you, Travis, for having great questions and doing this conversation. So we'll see you all later. Thanks for joining. Goodbye.